So, welcome today to another episode of Hypnotherapy Reflections from Training to Practice. Today, we're thrilled to have Jennifer Austin Evans, an accomplished solution-focused hypnotherapy, trained at the Clifton Practice at CPHT, and really exciting because Jennifer brings a wealth of knowledge and experience, not just in hypnotherapy, but everything she does. And today, we're going to explore her journey, her unique insights, both personal and those gained from training with CPHT, and the powerful impact she has seen from using solution-focused hypnotherapy. So get ready for an inspiring conversation highlighting the transformative power of hypnotherapy and the exceptional training we hope she got from CPHT. So Jennifer, hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So let's first of all introduce yourself and where you practice, what the practice name is, maybe.
Yeah, so I'm Jennifer from Jennifer Austin Hypnotherapy, and I work fully online right now. So last week I was working from Norfolk. This week I'm in London. Next week I'm in Estonia. So I'm very much enjoying like the digital nomad lifestyle right now, and enjoying being able to practice from literally wherever I want to.
Wow, I I haven't even got into the questions. As you know, we normally do 20 questions and ask people all sorts of stuff, but that's brought in another question straight away was, I get so many people, particularly people who are interested in training, going, can I use it online? Is it effective online? So you're using it online and it's enabled you to be wherever you want to be.
Exactly. So I can go visit friends, family, go solo travel, do whatever I want to do, but keep working at the same time. I've only ever worked online, and
Wow.
it's fully effective. Everyone enjoys it, and it allows, people to work with me from all over the world. So my clients aren't just from Norfolk, which is where I started, but they're actually from all over the UK and further. I have clients in Australia, for example.
So you've got a global business
Yeah, I guess so.
helping people across the world. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So the first question I've got for you is, what motivated you to train as a hypnotherapist?
So I had hypnotherapy myself.
Oh,
I was struggling with physical and mental health conditions, and hypnotherapy, not only did it really help me, but I also enjoyed the process. Unlike the more traditional talking therapies that I'd had before, I actually really looked forward to every session, and I loved my hypnotherapist. And I realized that I could be that for someone.
wow. Oh, that's a lovely, and it's a lovely story. And again, not, it's probably a real split between the people I've trained, but so many people have had some experience and enjoyed it. So that's really good to hear. So
Yeah.
what did you do before you trained with CPHT?
So immediately before, I was working for the police. I was redacting evidence for court, but actually in my previous life, I was a marine biologist.
Oh,
So I
wow.
used to work in the field. I worked offshore in acoustics, and worked in a lab as well. But I lost that job due to my physical health conditions. So
Right.
yeah, I was sort of in a bit of limbo, and just got an office job while I was deciding what else to do.
So my next question was going to be, why did you jump from this amazing role of a marine biologist, which sounds exciting and it probably is not as glamorous as it sounds, but it sounds
No, it's not.
glamorous. But what inspired you then to move into hypnotherapy, to retrain, change your career?
Sure. So I guess, yeah, a few different things. I was missing learning. Like I wanted to learn something new. I was
Mhm.
ready for a new challenge. I wanted a better work-life balance. And obviously, what better way to do that than to work for yourself, really? Um, and I wanted to really feel like I was making a difference. So that was one of the reasons why I went into marine biology. But
Yeah.
actually, as you say, like it sounds a lot more glamorous than it is. Like a lot of the time, when I say I was working offshore in acoustics, I was monitoring whales and dolphins, everyone's like, wow. The
Well, it sounds
reality,
amazing. It does.
yeah,
I'm sitting there
yeah,
thinking, wow, that's just
yeah. But the
gorgeous.
reality is I'm sitting on a ship, normally the only female on a ship with 30 guys, doing 12-hour night shifts, like no hot food. And actually when the weather's bad, you're just sitting and waiting for the weather. I had a whole month where we had no work. We just sat and waited for the weather to improve for
Wow.
a month. Um, and you don't know when you're coming and going. Like there's no set rota or anything. You just get a phone call being like, oh, do you want to go to America tomorrow for we don't know how long? So there was no work-life balance, and I didn't feel like I was making a difference. Like it's so hard. You even if you come up with some really great data, you know, even if you got that published, it's just going to sit on a shelf and gather dust, and you hope that it becomes useful at some point.
Right.
Whereas actually, I was hoping that in a hypnotherapy setting, I would feel like it was more rewarding consistently.
Right. I mean, that I get that now, because one, it does sound, you know, really glamorous, but then it's a bit like I speak to a lot of police officers and things like that. It's like there's not a car chase 3 times a day. It's like you just sit and waiting, and that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And you never see the outcome of your work, really, the impact of it. So
No.
I can see where you do that. So what brought you to, you know, train with CPHT in solution focus? So, you know, what was it that inspired that choice?
Literally, I asked my hypnotherapist, where did you train? And I wanted to do exactly what she did because I just loved her approach. I wanted to do
Wow.
exactly what she did.
I
She was like, this is where I went. And not only did she go through CPHT, but she ended up also becoming a supervisor and a lecturer and all of that. So
Who
I
was
could
that?
see Deborah Pierce.
Oh yes, Debbie. She's beautiful, lovely lady,
Oh,
great
yeah.
therapist, still in practice.
Yes, yeah, she's winding
Yeah,
it down a bit now, I
she
think. She's
is.
got
Yeah,
more sort of self-help online courses. But and I worked with her remotely as well. Like all of my
yeah,
sessions with her were online, so I knew that online worked.
yeah.
And yeah, so I literally just said to her, right, you know, what did you do? Because that's what I want to do.
Wow. So it's interesting because you've mentioned, I'm going to jump ahead of some of the questions I've got, but you've mentioned 2 or 3 times work-life balance,
Yeah.
which a lot of people are looking to get off that treadmill of going
Mhm.
to work every day, doing a job, one on at a time, having a job which doesn't fulfill them. Not necessarily sitting a month waiting for the weather to change, but for some people it might feel like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
tell me about what training as a solution focused hypnotherapist has now enabled you to do from a work-life balance point of view.
Well, firstly, just book a last minute holiday to Estonia because I literally booked that like yesterday and I'm going on Monday because I was like, oh, I fancy getting away. So I can
Wow.
and I will. So obviously, if you like to travel, then it gives me that ability. I've got lots of friends and family, but they're not local to me in Norwich, like they're spread out. So the fact that I can now go and see family when I want to, as long as they've got somewhere that I can work or I rent somewhere nearby. But obviously allowing me to do my own hours as well. So
Yeah.
I when I was building up the practice while working part-time, obviously that was really tough because you are kind of working and training
Yeah.
constantly. But once I've enabled myself to go full-time, now it's like, actually, I don't want to work every evening. Why am I working every evening? And I thought, oh, I was quite worried if I cut down my evenings,
Yeah.
they're the sessions that clients really want, right? Everyone wants evening sessions. And I worried that that was going to impact me. But it didn't. Now I only work 2 evenings a week and everyone just fits
Yeah.
in. They go, you know, well, I've got flexible working or I'll do it my lunch break or whatever. And also I set myself an admin day. So
Yes.
I only see clients Tuesday to Friday. And on a Monday, I can do my marketing, I can do my social media and finance and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
then between clients, Tuesday to Friday, you have a client and then you're like, cool, I'm gonna go have a nap now, if you're me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to say, yeah, go for a run, go to the gym, Gary, but you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
nap.
Yeah. I think
Um,
I'm on board with you there.
yeah,
I can tell you the science about napping is so good.
it is.
You know, so napping is good. It's interesting because you've mentioned that. I mean, you don't have children and things like that. But what are the things what I often get told, and you know, I supervise a lot of other therapists, as you know, um, and they talk about having control. So you
Mm,
decided you're going to work from Estonia, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that, but you're in charge. You're going to turn your clients up or turn your clients down, how many you see or what day you see
yes,
them.
yeah,
So you
exactly.
feel completely in control.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, at one point, I did really have the capacity. This was just before I went full time, because I've only recently gone full time. I actually had a wait list, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? That's super exciting. And I could have taken more on, but I looked at what was going on in my personal life, and I was like, you know what, I don't really want to take more on. They can just sit and wait a few weeks, and I could do that. So depending on what kind of other stress you've got going on in your life, I can tailor my work to what I need it to be.
So has training as a solution focused hypnotherapy with CPHT changed or shaped the way you now work with clients? Has that helped, that format?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I love the fact that, obviously, maybe with my science background, I love the fact that it's all rooted in this neuroscience, and that I can actually explain to clients how and why their brain works. And a lot of my clients will have had therapies before, other traditional talking therapies. And then I'll chat them through how the brain works, and they go, why has nobody told me this before? Like, why don't I know this? So I love that approach of actually explaining what's going on and why we've evolved that way. The goal setting part is obviously really key, because for me, when I did things like CBT or whatnot, obviously they have their own benefits, but the goals that I was given in that were too unrealistic for me. They were too much of a stretch that I just didn't do them. Whereas the goal setting approach in solution focused, I really like that it's baby steps. And at the time, people are like, how is that going to help me in the long run? Like, okay, yeah, fine, I'm going to make my bed this morning. How's that going to make any difference? And it does. And every time you see those tiny baby steps add up.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and obviously trance. Who doesn't want like half an hour of deep relaxation? And it relaxes me as well. I get to read trance like 5 times a day. I sleep perfectly fine these days.
Yeah, brilliant. That's cool. So I'm really interested in something which really has popped out, stood out to you when you're working with clients, something that's surprising and unexpected. And also, what do you really like working with? Where's your passion when you're working with clients? What do people know you for?
Okay, so 2 questions there. One, what stood out and surprised me with a client, right? I think sometimes what surprises me is how a client comes for one thing and it ends up changing lots of other things. They will come to me and they'll be like, I'm really overwhelmed with my job, and I just my anxiety is off the charts, etc. And then actually by the end of it, they're like, so I've left my husband, turns out I'm gay, and like you have no idea what's gonna happen. So that was
nor
probably
do they. Is that right?
Sorry?
And nor do your clients.
No, they didn't know either. So the most surprising one was probably, the fact that someone left their fiance and realized their sexuality through this process, because it really enables people to be their authentic self. And I think that's one of the things I'm known for, is I really want to bring out people's authenticity and build their self-esteem, because when you do that, it leads to so many other changes. But I'm also known for working with people with skin conditions because of my past history. So I'm quite big in the skin community on Instagram and things.
So one of the things you're really passionate about is supporting people and helping people find solutions to challenging skin conditions.
Yeah, so a lot of people I work with are going through something called TSW, which is steroid withdrawal, and a lot of them are housebound, if not bed or sofa bound. And they're like, well, how can I enjoy my life when I can't do all these things? And they're almost grieving for the life they wish they had or the person that they were. I've got a client at the moment who she used to be a skydiving instructor, and now she finds it hard to leave the house, and her life has completely changed. And they sort of think, well, how can I still enjoy my life? And working with them through that process to find that, okay, life doesn't look like what you wanted it to look like, but actually you can still enjoy it. And helping them deal with pain management as well.
Absolutely. So do you think now that you have knowledge of how the brain works, the neuroscience and the connection between the mind and the body, does that help when you're passing that information and knowledge on to your clients?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, lots of them go, I guess I knew this, but you've actually explained it in a way that now makes sense. Like, they know that stress impacts the skin, right? We know that stress impacts the body, but to actually sit down and be like, oh, so stress is causing your cortisol to rise. Cortisol increases your inflammation. It's going to slow down your wound healing, kick off your histamine response. That's going to cause you to be more itchy, which is going to cause you to be more stressed. And yeah, to actually talk through what's really happening on that deeper level, they're
Wow.
like, oh, okay, right. And the pain management stuff, you know, talking about the impact of serotonin and
Yeah.
dopamine and our chemicals when it comes to pain, people think, gosh, yeah, you know, they don't hear that from other therapies.
So it's really empowering for your client.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. And they feel very validated as well, because it helps them feel like they've got a bit more control. Because these chronic conditions, right, it feels like your whole life has been taken over. You don't have any control over anything anymore. So it's about giving them a little bit of control back into their lives.
So I could talk to you just on that subject for about 2 hours, but I'm going to
Yeah.
move up a little bit. And I was going to ask you what you do for self-care to look after you, what do you, but then you talked about you're traveling the world and you're napping in between everything you do. So I'm not sure whether we need any more, but is there anything what you do
Um,
in particular to look after yourself,
so I
yourself?
do journal. I journal, and I think I journal differently now that I've gone through this training with CPHT. You know, I journal in a very solution focused way,
Yeah.
obviously. And when I do need to process things, my newest thing is writing poems.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, when I'm going through particular like strong emotions and things, obviously I don't want to repress them. They want to come out, but how can I let them come out in a healthy way? I've started writing poems, so that's quite
Wow.
cool.
So
Um,
what's that old joke? You're a poet and didn't know it? I mean, that's my limit of knowledge of poetry, so we won't go any further than that. But
I don't know anything either. I don't think I could name a poet to you. I don't read poetry. It just kind
wow,
of, my journaling naturally turned it when I was going through a hard time recently. I was journaling, and a poem just came out, and I was like, this is cool. So I've sort of explored that. So yeah, journaling, poetry. I'm also in therapy on and off. I do think it's important. You know, obviously
yeah,
I've got a network of solution focused hypnotherapists to lean
yeah,
on. And we can always swap sessions with each other.
yes,
But not
absolutely.
only that, I'm also in what's called Feel Good Norfolk, which is a network
Okay.
of well-being businesses within
Oh,
Norfolk,
oh,
because that's
wow.
where I started. And we can also swap sessions within that. So, you
Yes.
know, I can say, yeah, I'll give you some online hypnotherapy. And someone else will say, great, I'll come give you a massage or some reflexology.
Oh,
Or,
wow.
you know, so really leaning into the wellness
Brilliant.
community and swapping our practices.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah, I need to see if they've got some in Peterborough where I'm back.
Yeah, no, it's a really nice practice. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's said 1,000 times, but like I do like yoga.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did a yoga retreat in Morocco in April, which was really nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, there you're always looking at supporting yourself. And I
Yeah.
think all good therapists are really aware that just because you help other people, you've also got to be practicing what you preach.
Oh
And I
gosh, yeah. And you
love,
know, having sessions is really good for my own mental health, because I struggled with my mental health before. When I first sort of said to some friends and family, this is what I'm going to go do, obviously they're all supportive, but a couple of them were like, well, what if you struggle,
yeah,
and now you're running your own business and there's no kind of real
passionate.
reason to get out, you know, out of bed into the office. But actually, firstly, my clients mean a lot to me, and I will turn up for them, if as long as I can do. But also, as you said, it forces you to go back over all of this information of why it's so important and to practice what you preach, while also recognizing at the same time we can't always therapy ourselves. So
Yeah,
go and get support if we need to.
absolutely. So it's interesting. You mentioned your family, and it sounds like you've got a very supportive family. But I hear a lot of people talk about skepticism, which they
Mm.
get from all sorts of people, but also from potential clients, but definitely the general public. How do you handle those misconceptions and skepticism? Do you have anything what you particularly?
I I chuckle and I nod and then I correct them.
Yeah,
So yeah, I say yes, yeah, I understand. I heard that many times before.
yeah,
Here's the truth. And it's something I do a lot on social media. So, you know, I've done a short series of reels
yeah,
recently in frequently asked questions. So it's like,
yeah,
you know, um, can you get stuck in hypnosis? Can hypnosis make you do things you don't want to do?
Yeah.
All those things that we always hear. And so I think just putting that out on social media regularly is quite important. And then, yeah, just gently correcting people and being like, yeah, it's not like you see on stage. It's completely different. This is clinical hypnotherapy, and actually it's based in science.
Absolutely.
And trying to explain it to them if they're willing to listen.
So how do you deal with somebody who is opposite to solution focus? So I've got to sit and talk about my problems. I've got to revivify it. And you're going, we're solution focused. How do you deal with the people who believe that there's only one way?
So to be honest, by the time you explain the science behind it, they're normally questioning. Oh, okay. So by the time I actually explain the brain and the stress bucket, they do start to think about, oh, okay, well, maybe I haven't really considered it like this before. But also I do think you are going to come across some clients who they do really, really want to talk about the problem, and actually that's okay, but that you're not ready for solution focused hypnotherapy yet. Go do some traditional talking therapy, get all that stuff off your chest, and then ready to move on. You know, I have said that to a client recently. I've only had that one consultation just the other day with someone who was like, I really want to talk about this. And I was like, well, that's not really what we do. This is what I can offer you. Otherwise, go do the traditional talking therapy. And then when you're ready to move on, come back and we'll work towards the life you want rather than talking about the past. But yeah, once you explain the brain and the science, most people go, okay.
Cool. So you worked with a solution focused hypnotherapy, loved it, found that you loved it a lot, and you then found us to train with us. But during that training, because obviously you learn everything about why you did what you did when you were in the therapy, was there anything that leapt out at you? What was a breakthrough for you when you was going for the training, went, oh my God, this is it? It doesn't have to be, but is there anything in particular that stood out?
A couple of things that stand out was learning more about the medication side of things was completely new to me. So I think that was Claire talking through exactly how antidepressants and various medications work. That was really interesting and really important, I think, for me to know. Obviously, a lot of the clients I see are on various medications. So that was really good to learn that we don't, produce our own, it doesn't produce serotonin for us. We still have to produce our own and help it. That was really key. And also grief. I've never really dealt with anything to do with grief before, and it didn't come up in my sessions. So when we talked about grief in training, and I can't remember who it was, someone drew like the ball in the box metaphor for grief. That side of things stood out to me, and I use it regularly with my clients now. Even if they haven't, it's not because they've lost someone, but actually if you've lost a relationship or if you've lost your health, the same applies.
Absolutely.
The two things that stand out, which were kind of completely brand new to me, was sort of grief and medication.
So you came from being a microbiologist, which sounds amazing. Even if you tell me it's not, it still sounds amazing. Worked within the police community, then took up training with us to become a full-time, as you are now, a full-time hypnotherapist. What sort of help did you get from the course to prepare you for that?
So I think one of the most helpful things about the course was that we were seeing people from week one. The fact that we were literally working with like volunteers from the first week, because one of the big things about this course is your confidence, right? Oh my gosh, like I'm gonna have to help people who are in a really bad way. What am I gonna say? Am I gonna run out of things to say? What if I say the wrong thing? But because you're working with people from the beginning, you build up that confidence, and by the time the course finished, I was hitting the ground running. I was really confident. I was like, right, where can I go give a talk? Right, I'm gonna, and now I'm booked to I'm going to be giving a talk in London next month at the Allergy and Free From show. And I give sort of monthly talks in Norwich as well. And it's just like, that confidence that seeing people all the time throughout the course gives you is really invaluable. And also the support network of the other students.
Yeah.
So, you know, we still have a WhatsApp chat going, and we often put in there, oh, does someone have a like an idea of what to do with this particular client, or hey, how are you guys dealing with SEO on your website or whatever? And we're always there. Everyone always replies. They had, unfortunately I couldn't make it, but they had a reunion dinner earlier this year. So yeah, the group, I guess it depends who you get, but the group that I ended
I
up
think
with,
nearly every course I've been part of delivering training to has had that peer group, and I think that's really helpful.
yeah.
Did you get or feel like you got support and ongoing support from CPHT as you've went on through your graduation and since then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the supervising sessions are like absolutely necessary, not just from a legal point of view, right? But absolutely as a newly qualified hypnotherapist. I mean, I qualified in July, so I haven't even been going a year yet. But to meet up with your supervisor regularly continues that confidence, continues to grow, and the fact that other people bring these questions, right? And you think, oh, you know, that doesn't apply to me. And then funnily enough, the next week it applies to you. And you're like, I already know what to do because that person had the problem. So the continuing support from group supervision is great, knowing that you can have one-to-one supervision if you want to. The Facebook group is really valuable. Just swapping an email now and then, just to be like, oh, okay, I want to do a reframe. I haven't done one in a while. Can you just like answer these couple of questions? And someone will always come back to you really quickly.
So it feels like you're part of something bigger than yourself. There's always
someone,
whether it's peers from your training, whether it's somebody in supervision or one of your supervisors, you're never on your own.
No, absolutely. I never sit there thinking, oh, who can I ask, or I need help, who do I go to? It's more like, oh, okay, who do I choose, because there's too many people for me to ask.
So a couple of more questions then. So what would you, or do you find most rewarding from your work as a solution focused hypnotherapist?
Definitely when people say you've changed my life. And I remember you telling us, Gary, in training, you were like, you will have people that say to you, you've saved my life and you've changed my life. And, you know, you will have that happen time and time again. And you sort of sit there in training and you think, yeah, you know, that would be really nice. Yeah, I wonder if that will happen to me. And it really does. And the first time it happened to me was before I even qualified. And just realizing that you have that impact on someone to really make a difference to not only them but also their loved ones. You know, one of my sort of standout clients, if you like, that I remember well, she never allowed herself to be in family photos because she had such low confidence and self-worth, and she wouldn't do so many things that were kind of based around her family. And you know, she messaged me even like 4 months after working together. She took the time to message me and say, I've bought a sparkly dress, I'm going to wear it at Christmas, and I'm in all these family photos, and like her whole family have benefited from that, not just her. So hearing that, getting the reviews, always when a new review comes in, you're like, oh, I got a review.
So I've got another question for you. You know, I sent you the questions I'm likely to ask.
Yes.
I saved a couple.
Okay.
So I would like to know, if you were to write a book about your experiences as a hypnotherapist, what would the title be and why?
Oh, what would the title be? Maybe things I wish I'd known, or like why didn't I know this before?
Why would you call it that?
Because the key information that we learn on this course, you just think, why is this not taught in schools? You know, why have I not known this earlier? How different would my life have been if I knew all this stuff earlier? And you know, it's better late than never. And I'm pleased about, you know, my previous careers, and I'm pleased about this one. But yeah, it's probably something to do along those lines of, gosh, why didn't I know this earlier?
Why didn't I know this earlier? That's what your book's going to be called.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So lastly then, to finish up, what advice would you give someone considering a career as a hypnotherapist? And, you know, what do you think they should do?
Well, I mean, probably listen to a few podcasts, but not just your one, obviously,
No.
but there's quite a few podcasts that I've found, and they are by hypnotherapists. You've also got is it Ali's one about building a hypnotherapy business? You know, there's a lot of those resources out there, and if you listen to those, you'll get a bit of more of a feeling as to what that life would look like for you.
Mm,
Ultimately, I think the people who want to become a hypnotherapist, they have that gut need to help people.
yeah.
A lot of them have already been through something difficult, which
Mhm.
helps you then
Yeah.
relate to your clients.
Yep.
Um, and I think you also have to have a little bit of an understanding of the business side of what you're taking on, because most people that I know out of this course are doing really, really well. But then there's the odd few that are like, oh my God, the hypnotherapy side is fine, but actually I don't know if I can run a business.
Yeah.
So absolutely, if you're interested in hypnotherapy, I'd say go for it. Just also bear in mind, you're going to have to
Yeah.
deal with social media. It's not just being a hypnotherapist. You're
Yeah,
also a
absolutely.
social media manager, you're a marketing person, you're a website designer,
Yeah.
all those, an accountant, all those things come with it.
To surround yourself with the right people is
Yeah, yeah,
what sounds of it.
yeah.
Fantastic. So to finish up, particularly as you've got such a passion around so many things, particularly skin conditions and well-being, let's make sure people know who you are and how to find you.
Absolutely. So
Because you're globetrotting the whole time, we need to know how to contact you.
absolutely, I am going to buy a flat at some point, probably in Norfolk, but I'll enjoy the nomad life until then. So you can find me on Instagram at Jennifer Austin Hypnotherapy, and also on my website, which is jenniferaustinhypnotherapy.co.uk. And also on YouTube. I'm new to YouTube. I'm also on here. So that is also Jennifer Austin Hypnotherapy. Yeah.
Cool. Facebook?
Yeah, I am on Facebook. I'm more active on Instagram, but I'm on Facebook under Jennifer Austin Hypnotherapy. And I also have a monthly newsletter. So I send out a monthly newsletter, and that will have all sorts of positive news from around the world and what I'm up to and any upcoming events. So I do like monthly live trances on Instagram, for example, and any talks. And I am in the works doing a collaborative retreat in Cornwall potentially, and an online workshop with a yoga teacher. I did a half-day retreat with a yoga teacher and like a somatic movement coach. So yeah, there's always bits and pieces that I'm doing.
Loads of stuff, but we've got to remember Jennifer Austin Hypnotherapy, because
That's the one.
whatever platform we go on, we'll probably find you.
Yeah, I hope so.
Fantastic.
And yeah,
What I'm going to do in the bio and everything to do with this and everything, I will put that in so people can click on you and find you. So to finish off, thank you so much for giving us some time in your middle of your globe trotting. Enjoy Estonia, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
No, thank you so much for having me. And it's also nice for me to reflect back over, the training period and what I've achieved.
Thank you. Bye-bye.